Now you know I'm recording. They have that nasty little voice that tells you that.
They can't record behind your back.
They can't. Well, no, that's why they did it. That was happening to people. But, that's the same voice that calls you and says, I want to discuss Medicare with you. I mean, they could have found a different voice. Anyway, welcome to Nancy Jean's Garden. Today we have Gail McLeod, Dr. Gail, and we have Mary Callozzo, who is, and you are in South Carolina?
Yes.
Okay, it's so weird to know where people are. Anyway, Mary runs a metaphysical store, and it's called the Rustic Raven Energy Medicine and Holistic Healing Center. And she has a website, which is at www.therusticraven.com. All of that will be in the notes below if you're watching my show, and you'll be able to see what they are. And the reason Mary's here is not just because apparently she runs a one-of-a-kind, absolutely fantastic store, but she's also a shaman. And like I've told people, I know as much about shamans, and we're about to find out how little I really know. But I think that it's a really important concept that we kind of lost. It's either like so in our face, we're like, oh, is that something? It's like something different, or it's something we've just never heard of and we just don't know what to do with. But so we're going to try and straighten all that out. And in the interim, we're going to be talking extraterrestrials, removing implants, and healing people. Okay. And so, of course, today, I always pick a stone of the day. And today it was the Libyan gold Tektite. And its meaning is manifestation. And this is a Tektite. Tektite means it's a crystal that's formed on this earth by something that comes from off of the planet. And apparently in Libya, they have a lot of meteors that hit and become meteorites. And they form this in the sand, and it's a beautiful, weirdly beautiful stone. And
is that yellow or gold, Nancy? What color?
It's yellow and gold, and sometimes they're very, very light. So it can have a lot of possibilities. But there's tektites in other parts of the world, but this one is the only one that's gold because it lands in the desert. And there's a lot of Tektite fields in Australia. There's a lot of Tektite fields in Russia, but and they're very, very powerful stones if you want to connect to that higher connection. But what the crystal meanings are, it's a powerful manifestation crystal, assists in connecting the light beings with other galaxies and dimensions. Now, guys, I didn't go through the deck and pick this out. This is what I picked in Dr. Gail is here. Releases fear of the unknown, allowing us to trust our lives, and dissolves fear about extraterrestrial beings. So, E.T. come home. So I'm going to start with Dr. Gail's been on my show. So if you didn't see that show, you can go back and watch, but we're going to talk about what she does again, because not everyone can go back and find shows. They're there, but they're not easy to find sometimes. So, but we're going to start with Dr. Gail, and then we'll go to how you work with the shaman, and then we'll go into shamanism as it relates to her work, and then shamanism just in general. So, Dr. Gail, do your thing.
Well, hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Gail. I am a starseed healer. And what I do is I work with people who have had alien issues like post-traumatic stress disorders from abductions. I also remove implants. I get rid of negative entities, and they're usually things that are holding people back from moving their vibration up. So it's usually I'll have a shaman, a Reiki healer, somebody who will find that these people are stuck in a place, and they refer them to me to find out what's going on. And I can remove that entity or implant and send them right back to the person who is their healer. And the results are just amazing when I remove this. They can move their vibration up, and all of a sudden it's transforming their lives. Now you can refer yourself to me. Usually if you do, then I will need to find you a healer that will take care of you afterwards. I'm usually the one that just sees somebody 1 or 2 times. And what I can do is I can remove the implant and balance your hormones, the chemistry, and your energy. And then you're able to move on with what's going on in your life, with increasing your vibration. Now, the entities are usually attracted to a negative energy that's usually coming out of the solar plexus. It's the most common one. And I'm thinking, is that crystal that you're talking about, would that be good for the solar plexus, Nancy?
Yes, it actually is. It's a crown chakra one, but because it's yellow, I always relate crystal colors to chakras too. So since it's yellow, it's there too.
Okay. All right. So anyway, they usually attach themselves to the lower 3 chakras, and most of the time it's the solar plexus. And they want you angry, depressed, suicidal, and that's so they can feed off that energy that you're producing, and they just stay there and they keep poking at you, trying to make sure that that energy keeps coming to them. So they just feed off of it. So when I remove it, that means you heal that solar plexus and can move on and get a higher vibration. Now, when I do have an appointment with somebody, it is a 2-way street. You have got to do as much work as I do to get rid of it, because you have to immediately raise your vibration. And then you immediately have to go to somebody who can cut the cords or make sure there's no attachment. And then that's where they go back to Harry to make sure the cords are cut. And then they can just move on. I mean, they start healing immediately. Mm-hmm. And it just is amazing what does happen with the people when I can remove a negative energy or an implant. And so my information, I'm Dr. Gail starseed@gmail.com. That information will be in the description box. And now we're going to move on to Mary, talk about her stuff. She cuts the cords. We're here together. If you see where we're at, we're in her store at Rustic from Florence, South Carolina. You can make an appointment with either one of us. Go ahead.
Well, like she was saying, like Gail was saying, usually there's a healer who's working with somebody first. And a lot of the time I end up with clients who, when I'm working on them, if there's a lot of shadowed energy or heaviness within the head, I kind of go in with my guides and their guides and try to decide what this is. Because if it's something that's not broken apart by the light that I'm using, that I can't remove on my own, I realize that it is this sort of alien chip, which you said you believed it's like a mass implantation to keep people's vibration low.
Yes.
Do you have anything else to say about that part and why you believe that they're there?
Well, they're there just to keep our vibration low. They don't want us to ascend. They want us to stay in 3rd density, feed off our energy, and just keep us kind of like a slave to them, and just keep continually feeding off of our energy. And there's some people who are, not many, but there are a few people who are kind of comfortable staying in that dimension. So it's not for everybody. It's for people who are already seeking for help in a different avenue. And yeah, I mean, we do on the spaceship also, we do the same thing. We both work on the spaceship together. She has an office right next to mine. And in fact, I just took her a patient this morning. But in my videos, you'll see a lot of that information come in the future, that Harry actually does work on the spaceship with me. We integrate medical, well, Western and Eastern medicine is combined together on the spaceship. Nobody is a higher level. I'm actually a surgeon. She's a shaman. We're both at the same level, and we have soul readers and all different things on the spaceship, and they're all just as important as the other.
Can I clarify at this point? I don't go in spaceships. I live in Texas. That's alien enough. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, we're in South Carolina.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough.
I understand. I just don't want people calling me up saying, I want a reading about that spaceship. Not me. I'll give you Gail's number.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mary, so you're in the office next to her. So what happens over there?
Okay, so essentially when I have these clients, what I am doing, and I see them, I refer them to her if I do realize that it is an implant that needs to be removed. Now, with her background in this lifetime as a surgical nurse and chiropractor and all those things, that along with her spiritual path, she's able to go spiritually and energetically up into the spaceship and remove all of these things with her alien guides. And apparently they have some very high-tech tools. Do you want to touch on those? Because they're very interesting.
Yeah, well, because of my background in the operating room, and I was an operating room nurse, and I was the one that managed the room. And now I'm actually the surgeon, and I used all this equipment in the operating room that I'm using in the spaceship, except it's 1,000 times better. And so when I walked in and I was the surgeon and I'm looking at the equipment, I'm going, I've seen all this, except for it's much better. I mean, so much better. And I have an assistant that does the job that I used to do. So in the operating room there, we have 2 gray hybrids and 2 human hybrids. And the 4 of us are the ones that remove the implants. And after the implant is removed, we bring in a whole light or equipment that does the balancing of your hormones and the balancing of your chemistry. And then I have to give the energy to neutralize your energy and bring it to where it needs to be. And it's also doing color therapy at the same time.
Oh, cool.
So it's just amazing equipment up there. And it does make it a lot easier that I have access to this and that I can help people with it.
And the color therapy is very important just because of the whole, if you think about everything we're doing, it's all just energy work, and everything is energy, everything is vibration. Our bodies are nothing but vibration, which gives it the energy field. The sun has energy, light is energy, sound is energy, color is energy. It's all different vibrations. That's all it is, it's vibration. So essentially what's happening is we're seeing where there's an implant where that's keeping someone's vibration low. She is using all of this high-tech equipment with alien guides to remove those implants. Then they're coming back to me so that I can change the vibration in that area to keep that from reattaching or to keep the implant from being re-implanted, if that makes sense. And how we do that is by finding what caused that vibrational level to be low to begin with and fixing that. So a lot of the time for me, in my experience, that goes back to a past life trauma, a past wound from this lifetime, some sort of out-of-body experience. And we perform soul retrievals around those experiences. And that essentially, we have to change the thought processes around it. So once the soul retrieval is done, it gives them that foundation to be whole again. But it's their job to actually go home and work with that, solidify that within themselves, change their thought processes, rewire neural pathways in order to keep their energy stable, because our thoughts directly affect our energy. So if we have negative thought patterns all the time, our energy is going to constantly be moving sluggishly or become blocked or just be very low. So I believe that you prescribe a lot of homework as well, as far as gratefulness and affirmations, and I do as well with my soul retrievals, because a lot of the time when these soul pieces are lost, there is some sort of contract, energetic contract or imprint that's keeping it from returning to the body. So we have to destroy those, and a lot of the times those contracts translate in human terms as things like I am not worthy, I am not safe, I am vulnerable, I can't trust, I am nothing, things like that, very low vibrating thoughts that repeat in a person's subconscious over and over and over and over again. And so we can go destroy that and replace it. And
they do present as being very depressed, angry, and some are suicidal. So that's a lot of times how they present themselves and can't get over it.
Well, I can tell you from my perspective, I had a friend, and he was a very close friend, and he saw Abraham Hicks in the 80s. I mean, he's been around all this abundance manifestation. He'd get to a point and he was like a brick wall. And I talked to him about Gail when I met her, because I talk to him and I'm his friend, but man, when he gets into his downer Debbie mode, I'm out, because I'm working on stuff right now and it's not that I'm being mean or picky or I think I'm better than, it's just, if I'm to do the work I've been told I'm to do, I can't be near that energy. And that's that's the ultimate thing that happens with that sort of stuff. And so I suggested to him that he might want to talk with her. I cannot tell you what a difference. The first time I talked to him on the phone after he'd worked with her, it was like night and day. It's like the good guy was there all the time. And I'm working with him to kind of help him get in touch with what he wants to do. He's since kind of not really meaning to, but I talked to Kim of Intuitive View about him, and she said, oh yeah, he should be a medium. And she gave the steps she always gives to people on how to get their way into being a medium. And I had talked to him, and he'd already made that decision. I didn't, have to tell her that. It's just, it really can be astounding. And it's so good to watch people be free. There are many paths to finding freedom. This one is a new one I found, and I want to let people know about it. Gail also worked with a woman friend that I'm very close to, who is an artist. And she said, I sleep all night. I don't worry about things anymore. She has some physical problems that also impede her from moving forward, but she said those don't bother me like they used to. So I'm not telling you guys to go use these folks or talk to Dr. Gail or go to Mary without some understanding that, yeah, it works. It's real. Because trust me, 2 years ago, if you just said, oh, I have a friend and they're going to heal you and they're going to take you to an alien spaceship, I would have been so out of this chair and said, okay, that's fine. That's lovely. That's for another day. And today is that other day,
2 years ago, I was the same place. I would have never said that either.
Yeah, folks, it's like my garden. I woke up last February and said, you're going to make a divination tool. People are going to throw crystals on it. It's called a garden. And I saw the words and I typed the words out very quickly. And now I had a list of words and a weird concept. And the woman friend of mine that Gail's been able to help is a designer who designed it for me. But she just basically took it out of my head, put it on the cloth. But now I have this whole thing, and I'm about to start teaching 3 weeks worth of classes on how to use this tool. And trust me, a year ago, 6 months ago, I would have said, that's nuts. I'm not doing that. I'm 72 years old. I'm going to be old and cranky and sit in the corner. I don't get to do that either. Okay, you work on the spaceship as a shaman on the spaceship, but we have shamans. I went looking, I did a quick show on shamans with someone else who'd studied it, does not practice being a shaman, but knew enough about it to, like me, on certain subjects, be dangerous and talk about it. What in the human realm do shamans do? And I know they're very, very ancient. The oldest picture I could find of a sketch of one was 1758, some English explorers that went into Mongolia. And there's this guy in this really funky looking robe dancing around the fire. But and I'm sure that's not what you do. That was their
Actually.
Okay. Well, she's the real deal then. She goes back to 1758. What's kind of if I don't know much about it, what do I need to know about shamans so I know how to ask the right questions?
The first thing that I want to do is not be attached to the term shaman.
Okay.
Shaman is a word that originated in Siberia and kind of across, we had healers, medicine men, medicine women, shamans, things like that. It's called something different in every culture. Shaman is just the most well-known term so that people understand the work that I do, the type of work that I do. So I want to step outside of that term, especially as being thought of as a traditional shaman, because regardless of any Native American blood that I had in my bloodline, I was not raised on a reservation. I was not raised in their culture. I was raised in my own culture with my own belief systems and things like that. But the type of medicine wheel and shamanism that I have learned and practiced under other teachers is the Andean medicine wheel and their form of shamanism. They come from the Kiara people in Peru. So that being said, not taking on anyone else's culture, only my own. I'm taking the psychology and the energetics of that belief system and that ancient medicine practice and bringing it to the West to what we do here.
Okay.
And what we do here, like I was saying, is purely within the energy field. So people come to me with all kinds of ailments, whether it's physical, emotional, mental. Usually by the time it's physical, it's already been a huge energetic block for a long period of time.
Right.
So the physical body can be healed from the energy field out, as within, so without.
Mhm.
Or it could be so far done that they're never actually cured, but they can still be healed.
Mhm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So they come to me with things like just emotional disruptions, depression, anxiety. We've had people heal themselves of anxiety, of alopecia. We had one person come who was being tested for, I think it was a pituitary tumor, and come to find out, because that is so attached to the hormones within the female system, all
Mhm.
she did was a lot of womb healing and a lot of womb and sacral work, and that cleared itself right up.
Right.
So everything that's happening in the thought processes happens in the energy, happens in the body.
Right.
So any wounds or traumas that these people go through that they can't get over, they present themselves in these other symptoms, and then they come to me because they don't know what to do. They want to feel better. They're ready to move on. They want a better life, or they've had some near-death experience, or just something big happen and they know there's more. There's more than this. I want to get on my highest path. I want to learn about spirituality. I want to learn what's out there. And we just start working on unlocking their inner power. We have to wade through and heal their traumas, heal their wounds, allow them to look at those things. We don't just like suppress them and remove them. It's not that easy. They actually have to let their emotions that they've suppressed pass through.
Mhm.
And they have to feel it and look at it and then clear it and release it. Then once we get through those parts, have some sort of stable foundation, we can begin moving forward with unlocking their power, unlocking their inner gifts, moving towards their highest destiny, accomplishing their spiritual things in this lifetime, which I think is a lot of the time why
Y'all went away.
Hold on.
I think we're seeing this on a cell phone from their end. And when they get calls, we go right to me. I mean, not that that's not wonderful, but it's not me. I mean, I'm not talking about my stuff right now. Are we back? I don't know. Well, we'll find out. Everybody knows. Okay. Oh, they got cut off. Okay. Anybody who watches my channel knows that, and now you're sitting sideways. They're on the spaceship and it's tilted. No, you're still tilted.
yes, I think so.
Everybody knows that my show is a crapshoot technology-wise. I mean, it's just you have a very forgiving audience watching this. They know this. This happens to me when I read people and they're zooming from their phone. They get a phone call and all of a sudden it's just me.
All by yourself.
All by myself. And I go, take the phone call, because it's tied to the cell phone. And the one thing cell phones don't really like you to do is block them being used as cell phones. That's
Right. Well, today I have a house that's being worked on, and so everybody's calling me wanting information on how to or what to do, and so that's where the phone calls are coming from.
okay. We're forgiving. Okay, so now we're dealing as shaman. It's inside. So what you're describing is probably the most ancient form of neuroplasticity, where we change our thoughts, our minds, our energy, and it changes us. Okay. Also in shamanism, there's traditional shamanism, and I'm sure it's in yours. There's the three realms: upper, where we are, and then lower, which the Christian church absconded and turned into heaven, earth, and hell. But I mean, do you work with that sort of stuff, or do you just stay on this plane?
I do. There's a lot of different guides and angels and ancestors that you're guided towards when you begin working in the spiritual realm. For me, it began at a young age as angels coming to me, or what I perceived as angelic energy. It's just a vibration that's high, so I perceive it as angelic energy. And then they come in form of ancestors and animals and things like that. And essentially, if you're looking at it from the viewpoint of shamanism, the middle realm is simply the present time on the other side of the veil. So that's a lot of the time where I go just to meet with my guides to get information. That's the kind of space that I live with one foot in all the time, constantly sourcing from these spaces to bring back information for myself, for my family, for clients when asked to. Then you have the upper realm, which is where our ancestors live in between lifetimes, and it's where the angels, the ascended masters live, our spiritual guides. So if you're looking at it from that point of view, it is like heaven. The lower realm is the place of the past. And it's also where, when we go through traumas and we have a piece of our spirit break away, that's where that piece goes. And it stays there, reliving that trauma over and over again. So from that perspective, it's hell. Because there's always a piece of us that's sourcing from those old wounds, even when we don't consciously know that we are, because that soul part is trapped in that hell. So a lot of what I do is to meet with my guides, my clients' guides, travel to those lower realms, meet with the archangels and the gatekeepers there, find those soul parts, and bring them back home, bring them back to the whole of the body, and take them out of that space.
Good. Nothing like being whole, at the end of the day. Okay. How long do these processes take? And I realize everybody's an individual and it's different, but how long?
It depends on the person. Holistically speaking, we're never done with our work. We heal one layer at a time, whatever's ready to come up. And essentially we end up going in spirals as well, because we come to deeper and deeper meanings and deeper healings and deeper realizations the longer we work. And by the time our work is done, it's time for our energy to leave our physical bodies and we move on. We're always working. But the process, soul retrieval process itself, if I'm just sitting with a client, just in a session type setting, it can take anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours. I try to allow at least a couple of hours so that the client has enough time to, see what's going on, feel those emotions, really live in that space for a moment, let it pass through, release that, destroy contracts, make amends if needed. Bring in new contracts, bring in new belief systems, new thought patterns, clearing old belief systems, clearing old imprints, and then also allow them time to process and to sit with that for a minute to decide what we need to do moving forward to keep themselves stable, to keep themselves in this state of balance. So I try to give them more time rather than less. Because yes, honestly, I can go in, traditionally speaking, just let someone lay in front of me, just work on them, just see all the visions myself, work. Okay, you're done. You can go. But from a psychology viewpoint, I don't think that that's the best way to do it. It works, but it doesn't bring their awareness to where the wound was, or to why they've been acting and reacting the way that they've been acting and reacting, and how they've been sourcing from those wound spaces this whole time. And without that awareness, once their thought processes fall back into old patterns, they don't know why or how to fix it. So I like to bring the awareness and the processing into it so that they can realize, oh my gosh, I'm thinking the way I used to think before, all this happened. I need to stop, and I need to go revisit my statements. I need to go revisit my affirmations. I need to try to balance my energy right now. I might need a session, just like AA. I need a session right now. Let's go get balanced. So And people work all the time. You know, I have energy work done on myself at least once a month, but I'm always journeying and meeting with my guides all day, every day. So it's always a process. We're always working, always trying to be the best that we can be.
Your phone. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, people ask me who heals the healer, and and do we take this stuff home with us? And I never had a really good answer for that. I don't have it now, because speaking of what you guys are talking about, I've lost 100 pounds by going in and clearing out my heart chakra and being able to get rid of my fat for it and picking a diet that worked for me. But before I lost that weight, I had sleep apnea pretty badly, and I would have to go in every 6 months, and the doctor would look through you give them a little chip, and they can tell how you slept every night. They can tell how many sleep disruptions you've had, and they can tell when you're sleeping well and when it's crappy. And I went to my doctor, and she said, you eat on Tuesdays, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, don't you? Because she knew what I was doing. At that point, I was reading in public, doing table readings. And I said, yeah, why? And she said, your sleep pattern changes. You have twice as much REM sleep on the nights that you've been reading. And she said, all I can think of is you're processing the energy you need to that comes out of REM sleep and theirs, and letting it go. Because she said, right the next night, you're right back to your just Nancy dream patterns. And she said, I have a couple of you in my practice. And she said, I would like nothing better than to do a sleep study on the whole bunch of you, because we assume and deal with energy differently. And that's one thing when I used to teach readers, I said, you have to understand you're opening yourself up in a different way if you haven't been that way all your life. And even if you've been that way all your life, how do you protect yourself? And it's important. And, how the healer gets healed.
Well, just yesterday I was dealing with an entity that has attached itself to 5 different healers, and it's bouncing all of them. And I got rid of it, and the next thing I knew, 8 hours, it was trying to attach to me, and I had to go in and get rid of it for myself. So you have to have those kind of resources.
What did you have, a sage stick the size of a haystack?
No, I had Jesus. That's
okay. That's
my big guns. Whenever I have trouble with one, my angel and Jesus comes in and gone. They take care of it. They let me try it first, and then the big guns come in.
I do want to touch on one thing that you said, who heals the healer. Now, in my mind, that's assuming that the healer considers themselves a rescuer. Whenever I work with people, I always tell them I'm not healing you. I'm bringing awareness to where you're doing something or where something has happened to you. And in this space, this is what you can do to fix that. And then they get their homework after we've worked on them and helped them. And it's their job to actually fix that.
Yes.
So anywhere that we're sitting in a space of assuming that we're the rescuer or healer, the victim or the perpetrator, we are disempowering ourselves. So a victim is just as disempowered as the rescuer. If you're considering yourself a rescuer or a healer, you are disempowered. You're keeping yourself your full power. Now, just moving away from that, it is important to keep yourself protected, because you always have to have work done on yourself. So I'm working on other people a lot, but I always have a way that I do it. I always work in a cleansed space, within a sacred space with my guides all the time. I wash my hands when they're done to keep their energy off of me. I cleanse myself and my space after they leave. And anywhere within myself where there's going to be a low vibration or wound that matches that person's low vibration or wound, that's when you have the possibility of whatever was attached to them attaching to you.
Mhm.
So you know that if anything's trying to attach, that you have a wound there too that you need to work on, and you need to go see another healer or another shaman or another light worker and work on that as well. So like I said earlier, we're always working on ourselves. So even the healers are getting healing work done. You know, I get work done from my teacher, and I work on my teacher too. And I work on my clients, and then I have coworkers, and we do trades on each other. So we're all just constantly having work done. You don't reach a level of healer and then just stay there.
No, I wasn't doing the guru around the mountain. I know for a fact, having read cards as long as I have, and switching to other modalities aside, when I used to work psychic fairs, which was like, you talk about the all-time free for all of people coming up and talking to you. When I was going through my first divorce and was in the middle of dealing with custody crap, every woman I read had been in a custody battle, had been in a divorce, had lost their kids, had kept their kids, every modality that could possibly. And it's like, you know, I was talking to other readers when we in the break room, and I go, "You getting a lot of this today?" And they're going, "No." And I'm like, "Oh." And it's really whatever's going on when you're a card reader, at least, and when you're especially in that kind of an open thing where it's not a long-term, we're going to be here forever, we're going to do a snapshot of where you are. There is you're right, you will pull in people that are having some of the same wounds, some of the same things. And in a way, I'm not sure you can, if someone comes to me with some situation don't have any touch with. And when I was younger, that used to happen. I'm so old now, I've done everything. But when I was younger, that would happen. And, you know, it was sometimes that was a much harder read for me from a card reader's perspective. And I've talked to other readers about it, you know, that I'm during that period of my life when I was changing jobs, everybody around me that I read was changing jobs, or everybody was around, you know.
Because that's what you're attracting and vibrating in.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's what, and, you know, and I would assume that's, and there's ways of shielding yourself so you don't get, it doesn't become you. But, you know, do you long-term track some of your clients? I have a few that I have long-term tracked that, you know, watching them improve or watching, you know, the story spin out, as I say.
I think it might be a little different for me versus you as a card reader. I'm not really sure if that's different or not. A lot of the time for me, I'll tell my clients we're seeing each other on a monthly basis.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we're long-term working together until they feel that they're equipped and empowered enough to go off on their own and just come see me whenever they feel the need to have a clearing or to be balanced. But they have enough awareness and knowledge of how to work on themselves, how to use their gifts, how to, you know, what's within their shadow and within their light. So they have enough within their psyche to be able to work on their own. And so there has been a lot of progress with people I've worked with long term. And I always love when they get to a point where they're like, you know what, I don't think I need to see you in 4 weeks. I'll come back in 6 weeks, or I'll come back in 4 months. You know, that's always an exciting time. So I'm like, yay, good job for you.
Well, the way
come off of their depression medications and, you know, things like that. Those things are exciting.
The way I personally work with people when I was out doing that kind of reading, and I still pretty much hold to this now, is I'll read you once every 3 months, because there are people that will have you and they will hang on every word and they want you to tell them how to take every step. And I've seen readers and I've known psychics who did that to people, and that's enslavement as far as I'm concerned. But like 2 days ago, I had calls from 2 different people. One was a guy who he said, "I'm calling you because you said you wanted to see me in a year." He had just had a 20-year relationship walk out on it and just desert him, like take off, pack up a truck and go. And because the way they left, he ended up living literally in a closet. I mean, I saw the room he was staying in. It was a closet and it was a mess. And he was a mess. And I kept telling him it's going to get better. You know, I saw the signs of he needed to watch for, and where he, you know, to look at it from the perspective of, yeah, change is awful, especially if we don't want it, but sometimes change is absolutely necessary. Anyway, he called me and he's a totally bright new space. He's now the one moving. He's taken off and going to a new city with a completely new opportunity. But he said, I just wanted to tell you, and I've talked to him once every 3 months during that year and seeing him get better and better. I had a woman who called me the same day, who a year ago, she was in the same situation she's in now. But she was using me as a point to say, nothing's changed. It's never going to change. And I said, not till you change it. So she called me later that night and said she'd made decisions about taking care of elderly parents that she'd become burdened with, and wrongly burdened, may I say, from my perspective. Anyway, she was going to make the decisions to get out of this
That's always a tough decision.
hamster wheel that she's been on. And I told her I said, don't walk out on yourself. I always tell people, and you talk about dealing with old wounds and healing when you leave, healing old voices, hearing old voices. That's what I had to do when I was losing weight, was when you get to that point one day when you say, boy, I really want that piece of pie. You deserve that piece of pie. Who's patting me on the head? And I could actually learn to hear which voice had placed that in me. And I'd say, thank you for sharing, please leave. And after you do that enough, they quit sharing and they go away. But
actually pretty hard for card readers and psychics, and because a lot of people who come to you, they want validation a lot. They want you to answer all these questions. What direction should I take? What should I do? You get asked a lot of questions, and the energy exchange is there. That's what they're paying you to do. But a lot of the time, like we talked about earlier, it keeps them disempowered to a certain extent if you can't be strong enough to tell them, you have to do this, and this is your solve. Like, you do this. And a lot of psychics get strong like that and get to tell them that. And some are like, don't.
Well, some will tell them anything. My worst question, the question I like the least, is, when will the one come into my life?
Always.
And I'm like, I said, when you walk in your own life fully empowered, then you'll find the one. Not a day before. But my favorite, tell them the truth no matter what. I used to read in a wine bar and there was a young couple that was, well, they were young, they were a middle-aged couple. And obviously they kind of knew each other, but you kind of sort of tell it was like not exactly Match.com, which we had a lot of those there. That was always kind of risky, but they were there in their kind of first real, were kind of out dating. And I read her cards, and he had no interest in having his cards read. And after I read her cards and they were so accurate, he said, she's so right about those things. He said, and the way I always started was, what's going on around you in the next 3 months? That's a very open-ended question with a lot of different avenues. And he said, okay, he sat down, he said, what do I need to do in the next 3 months? And I said, is that the question you want to ask? Because the cards will answer the question you want. And he goes, yeah, what do I need to do in the next 3 months? I said, hers was what's going on around you. He said, no, what do I really need to do in the next 3 months? I put the cards down. I looked across the table at him and I said, you need to divorce your wife. She didn't know he was married. It was the most interesting body dynamic in that young woman. And he was so shocked. I saw it. He said, well, you don't understand. It's not that easy. And I said, oh, don't tell the woman who left her husband with 2 toddlers and managed to make it on her own what's tough. And I said, I can tell you what's going on around you. Do you want to hear the rest of it? And he goes, well, yeah, sure. I mean, now she's going across the table. And it ends up, he's traveled a lot. His business took him a lot of places. He was going to have to move on to a new location. And she was an artist, and she lived in an art community in the South, kind of in the region where you are. And so to reestablish her career would be insane, and they had just grown apart. And the thing was, I saw her and she was on the board. She's I said, she's a great lady. Let her go. She needs to let you go. You need to let her go. So you can go both be the people. I said, what have you been married, like 24 years? And he said, yeah, well, together, but married in about that time. And I said, just split the bank account and go on. And he was like, Well, and then he talked to me a little bit about it with her sitting there, anyway, when they got up and left my table, they went and sat in the wine bar at a high top, and they were like this close to each other across the table. And the staff came up, and they kind of know when I get readings like that, and they go, "What'd you see? What'd you see?" I said, "You go listen. You can serve them wine. You can hear everything. You guys listen to everything that happens at these tables." That's why you never say anything in public that you don't want everybody to know, because they're listening. And they came back and they go, "God, he told her he was divorced and he isn't. Wow." And she came back a few months later, and they dated for a little while after that. And then she left him, and she said, "What was the deal? You know, I mean, she knew him for 4 years through work." And I didn't tell her because it was his business. But if you're listening, guy, he was cheap. He didn't like the divorce settlement. He thought it was his money because he was the big wage earner, and she was just a little fluffy artist in the corner who had managed to build a career and keep a household for them. They had no kids. So it was just a matter of money. So yeah, every once in a while when you're a reader, you kind of have to say, guess what? It's here. But
I really don't have to deal with those kind of questions. Mine are pretty.
I know.
You wait. People are gonna be like, "Where are my aliens? Where are they from? What do they want me to do?"
I do get those questions, but I don't get the boyfriend questions. I guess they want an alien boyfriend.
Probably not.
Oh, well.
I don't know.
So maybe if they say, if I get rid of my alien implant, can I find the one?
Yeah, I load them down with so much homework that I think they're like a deer in headlights a lot of times, and I just don't get asked those kind of questions. I think they're just so happy to get rid of whatever negativity or implant.
I know the two people I've sent to you that you were so successful with, they or have been so far. We'll see. You know, I mean, I really think I saw such a shift. I really feel it's there. It's permanent. But they're in so much pain. Having one other person in your life, that's like way more bandwidth than their brains have at that point.
Right.
And it's energetically it's different. We all have different points in our life, you know?
Right. Yeah, we definitely. Yeah, I know you two deal with that a lot, but since I'm a 1 or 2 time visit person, I can always say those questions.
So now we know where they come from, don't we? Don't we, Mary? She sent them all over to us.
And that's okay, because the people who come show me videos of lights in their yard, I tell them, go ask Gail.
That's
See
right.
what Gail has to say about that.
You must live in an active little neighborhood. I don't have lights. The only lights I have in my yard are the ones that are supposed to be there.
We have a very active, we have lots of entities showing up, having to clear out buildings. Last thing I had to clear out was the Humane Society. You know, we have quite an active area, I guess.
We really do. But I think some of it is also the time collectively, the energy is to a space where the aliens are coming more. We have even that star seeds and all the children being born as star seeds, children. There's something to accomplish towards ascension. Do you have any thoughts on that collectively and like why it's becoming more prevalent now in society?
It's time. It's time for us to ascend, and we're dealing with like one person at a time, trying to get them to ascend. And each one we do, that's bringing us closer to ascending. In fact, when I was told what I was doing, and it actually had to be Jesus and one of my guides sitting me down on a bench and saying, "This is what you'll be doing," and I'm going, "Oh my gosh, the success rate of that! This is going to be tough." And I'm going, but every time he sits me down, I just go, "Okay, yeah, I'm going to do it. Okay,
I'll do it."
But the success has been
Gosh darn.
What was that?
Darn. We want to come down and clean out the Texas legislature. We could use some help there.
We need that help here. We need to clean out ours.
Well, then work on yours. I'm working on mine. I'm helping some of the ladies here.
I don't deal with the politics and that kind. I just help one person at a time. That's all I can do.
Yeah. I try to train individuals to deal with principles.
Right. Right.
And stay away from the personalities, just deal with what do you think is right and how can you energize yourself to move that direction.
Right.
But
exactly, that's what we're all doing. I mean, we're trying to help each person make the ascension and bring their vibration up so we all can collectively rise up. Now, I used to be really worried about the people who were wanting to stay in the 3D until I was told they're just going to go to another planet where they're comfortable. I mean, quit worrying about it. They're just going to go where they're comfortable. We're going to go where we're comfortable. They're going to go where they're comfortable. So quit worrying about them. So I was glad because, I mean, I have some family members I was really worried about not being able to ascend, but they're just going to go someplace they're comfortable with, and that's where they want to live. So we don't need to go out there and rescue or try to help those people. We have to help the people who want to be helped.
yeah, well, we talk about it and try to explain to people that's why you're feeling differently, but I don't proselytize it. I don't say get on the 4D, 5D train or else, you know.
Right. Well, there is no else. It's just they're going to go where they're comfortable. They
No,
want to
they're gonna stay where they are, and you know, then that's kind of okay.
Yeah, and that was nice for me because I was really worried about it for a while.
Mhm.
And then I really let that go when they told me they're just going to go where they're comfortable. Just don't worry about it.
Well, I already let go of all my family members that were.
Well, I'm not letting them go, but I have to let go.
No,
of that
I let them go. I just said, nah, I don't want to hear.
They're just gone.
No, I was right. My mother was Republican Woman of the Year in Illinois, and my brothers attached that philosophy and have since fought. I don't think one of them's that much further off the cliff, but the other one, I don't know. One of them I know is. He thinks, you know, if they didn't have a millionaire father that put them through medical school, that's just their fault.
I know. Yeah.
You know, okay, whatever. Lovely ladies, one last thought from each of you, and then I'm going to let my poor people I hope my people have figured out by now that this is on my end. It's not live. We're recording it. We're going to play it later. And Gail and Mary's end, it's live. I think they're broadcasting.
We're live. Do you mind, Nancy, throwing the garden?
Sure. No problem.
Mary hasn't seen your garden.
Oh, okay. I usually have it set up, but
I know it's pretty early for you.
It's very early for me. And yesterday was like, I lost it. I stood up a client, which I have never done. And all the time I've done this, and I wrote them a lovely long apologetic letter. And then I didn't send you your invitation for this. We weren't sure we were going. Yeah, it's kind of, I have today, right after this, I'm going to have a long, slow breakfast, and then I'm going to finish the stuff up about, if you're interested in this garden thing I'm about to show you, which is here. This is a divination tool. And what it has is something you will relate to, I'm sure, Mary. Earth, fire, water, air is at the very center. And then you throw crystals on it, and I build crystal grids. And
Yeah, you showed us that beautiful one you just did.
yeah, that's a birthday surprise for Saturday on a show. We're giving it to someone. But okay, and then I throw these crystals. So let's say, do you guys have a situational questions? This does not do yes, no's. It only does situations. So if you have a situation you want me to look at, either of you, can be as general, as broad, as whatever.
Not that I'm putting out on my life.
No. I mean, you can do a situation around where you live.
Why don't we just throw on our future with the business, with this, what we're doing?
Okay. What do we see, and what is the journey that we're on, and the affirmation about that journey? What are the things we need to emphasize on the affirmation of that journey. Okay. Ooh, cool. Okay, it says right now, what we're doing presently, this is body, this is mind, this is spirit, this is clarification, and this is values. And then the spaces they've landed in, the body ended up in the present, which is a great place for it to be. Because when the body's in the present, I've also channeled these keywords. This comes with the kit to tell you what to do. It's at this time. What we're doing exactly what we should be doing at this time.
Good.
It's most important for us. I don't know who's here. Oh, I have 1 minute, please. I have to go answer my front door.
What? Answer the phone or door or something.
Well, while we wait, are there aliens here with us today, Gail?
Well, I always have mine, and Sally lives here. I mean,
Sally does live here.
Yeah. She's a alien that showed up when I came here, and I was talking to Mary and Meg, and I was sitting on the couch. She was my first one that showed up without me meditating, and she showed up coming on my left side, and her energy took me so off guard that, I mean, she took me through all emotions in like 5 seconds. I mean, it was so unbelievably amazing. And she stayed with me all day because apparently it was a mistake. She wasn't supposed to do that. And she kept with me all day long going, "Are you okay? I'm sorry." And anyway, she's actually turned out to be one of my people who showed up when I am doing a reading with somebody. I have my main guy, which is Matt Kai. And then Sally, she will never miss a party.
Mhm.
Something different. She's always coming to it. She wants to learn everything. She's new to Earth, so she's just interested in everything. But she stays here learning all the stuff that's happening in this store. And she has one other store she goes to, which I don't know where that is. And so anyway, Sally lives here at the Rustic Raven.
And when I see her like almost looking aquatic, like just very water and
Where she's
like blue and teal and
where
stuff
she's
like that.
aqua,
Mhm.
and she's not very attractive because she has horns.
Says you.
And she said she's attractive on her planet.
Yes, says you.
But in my eyes, the only thing that's attractive, and she's here and she laughs every time I talk about it like this. And she always reminds me she's beautiful on her planet. But she has kind of a scrunchy face, and she's about 6 feet tall. She's very tall, but she's wonderful. I love having her around because she's so entertaining because she blunders like I do.
And she's really high maintenance. Like her first time here, she needed you to buy a crystal and put it in like a glass case with a little placard saying her name. And I said, tell her I am not doing that.
She's a little diva.
I'm not doing that. She could stay here, but I'm not making her a placard with a clear case.
But I really, really enjoy her energy. But lately she has been showing up for a lot of readings, and just because she doesn't miss anything. And I'm sure she's probably in everything you do. I mean, she just wants to learn.
I take it you're speaking about an entity.
We're speaking about Sally, who lives here at the Rustic Raven. And
Oh, okay.
Talked about the first time I saw her. She was my first alien that I met that I wasn't doing meditation. And she came while I was talking to Mary and Meg, and we were sitting here, and all of a sudden she showed up, and she took me through every emotion within like 5 minutes. I mean, she had me laughing, crying. I mean, and I'm not a crier, and she had me go through every emotion that she had just, I don't know, it was pretty amazing afterwards, but she stayed with me all day, and the next day I was exhausted from her being around me. Now it doesn't bother me at all. That day I was.
There was a lot of energy right off first.
Yeah, she wasn't supposed to do that. She made a mistake.
And that's like another thing, when you first start coming in contact with alien energies, it's very different from our own.
Yes.
So we can feel very tired or nauseous or headachy, just drains very easily from it at first. And so we kind of raise our vibrations to that level.
they've had to ease me into it. When I first learned the spaceship, I had to go in a bubble because I was meeting so many different aliens. And
Yeah.
they've just guided me the whole way on this. But I have been very sick and nauseated after a few episodes, and then they have tried to guide me on what kind of diet I should be on that helps me.
Yeah, they're trying to get you to be a vegan.
Yeah.
Yeah, they always want us to be vegans,
Yeah.
or at least vegetarians.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I'm vegetarian now, and they want me to go to
Full land.
plant-based. I know. And I keep arguing with them about it.
Well,
They
girls,
have to go through cleanses, usually vegetarian type cleanses, because I do need red meats sometimes to keep my iron up. With a lot of what I do, my iron levels get
I would
low.
think so, because you're more working grounded.
Yeah, and the
Yeah,
earth
I'm
energies,
more.
galactic energies.
Yes. So it makes
Which
it,
is perfect that she pulled a Tektite then, because it's like the whole galactic.
oh yeah, it's the whole mix. It's the
yeah,
whole thing.
what kind of diet are you on, Nancy?
I do keto. I eat more meat
Yeah.
and dairy and stuff than anybody would.
Yeah, because she's
I
so
mean-
it makes sense that she'd be on keto.
Yeah. You guys, we're headed in the right direction. It says that the first one was that in the present we have at this time, and it says at this time, this is exactly where we're standing. Our clarity is raising up, because earth is where things raise up from, water's where they go away and flow out, and emotions. So we're grounding our clarity and our understanding. And that says you have many paths ahead of you. The correct one is appearing for you. And we have our spirit, and this is the amethyst is the spirit, and it says, balance your energy because you're moving ahead. And then we have the pyrite, which is grounding, which is in false and in earth. And false doesn't necessarily mean false. I've had vision dreams that are in a book about what each of these spaces means. And false doesn't necessarily mean false. It means to seriously reconsider all aspects of what you're looking at. And in this case, it means your values are being reconsidered, but new values are emerging. But this is the farthest in the future. This would be like winter. And we have, it's in fire, and this is our minds. Our minds are dealing with things we've always known. So all three of us have been healers before, but look for patterns, because all sorts of new paths are emerging. So the way I would read this is where we are right now is exactly where we're supposed to be. But we need to keep our mind open for new paths and things that are coming towards us. And we're going to have a whole lot of things emerging. This fall is going to be very busy for all three of us.
Yes, it is. We are starting the new Starseed class this month, the advanced shamanism course this month. We're doing cacao ceremonies and kundalini yogas, events, and having our first open mic since an open house in December around the solstice around. And that's going to be the first event we're having since before COVID. So this will be our first one in 2 years, I think.
Yeah. Did you have any questions about the garden? But that's what the garden is. And if people are,
I loved it.
but
I
it's-
also love how it says keep your mind open for more paths.
oh
We're
yeah, there's
literally talking about aliens. Like just making that clear.
yeah. Well, we're talking about all paths and all ways to heal. And all the different kinds of crystals and stones and things you can use. But on here, the words that run this are go for it, true, future, present, path forward, false, restate, and past. And restate was really interesting, because when I first wrote that out, the way I was reading it was, I didn't get the question right, to restate the questions. Now, like I said, to read in the garden, everything has to be situational. It can't be yes, no. It's no duality. It's just beyond that. But restate means, when I had my vision, I was in restate. Restate was like an old overgrown Victorian garden. And I was there and I saw the things that needed to work and grow. So the only way to do that was to pull out. It wasn't mostly restate. It was like you had to weed out the things that are going on around that issue so that you can get down to a clear point to move forward. all of them are really, I mean, all of the interpretations of the different spaces are very, very different. Go For It was one of the first ones I channeled in. And I was forced to play golf as a child. This is called Midwestern white privilege. And I hated it. I just thought it was the stupidest game in the world. You tag this bag of stuff around and you hit a ball and then you went, got it. Why didn't you just keep the damn ball? So we were at this green and I was telling I was on the kids' tee and I told the guy, I said, I can't even see the flag because I'm like all of 5'4" now. I was barely 5 feet when I entered high school. So at this point I must have been 4 and nothing. And I told the pro, I can't see the flag. I don't know where to hit the damn ball. And he said, just go for it, hit it. So I hit the ball and I made a hole in one. I never played again. I did what everybody says they want to do. I never played again.
You just quit now. I've done
I
that.
quit now. And that's what go for it means. So whenever a stone falls and go for it, whatever that element or energy is that's in your body, that's in that stone, that it means, that means, man, that part's just ready. Follow whatever it says. Go for it. It's like getting the sun in the tarot. It means everything's going to be great. So that's kind of how it works. And it's got other spaces that mean other things. And like I said, if you're interested in it, you can go to my Crystal Directions website and see it and look at it and decide. That's what I do.
I really liked that. That was nice.
Yeah, and we're all headed in the right direction. What we're going to have to keep doing though is we're going to have to keep like a sailboat kind of dealing with the wind we're given.
Right.
And
We're a lot of wind up the spaceships.
yes, well, your spaceship has to go the way it's directed. Anyway, it was absolutely lovely. And I apologize to you two for being a little bit absent about getting all my act together, but we're working on it. And if you are one of my viewers and you have bought a garden and you got the email, it says pick which class you want. I neglected to have you tell me, oh, you could pick a class, but I don't know who's coming to what class. So I'm going to send out an email today and it's going to say, please tell me which class you chose because I want to there's a lot of written material that I need to get them in PDF. So, and that's kind of where my world is.
Well, thank you for bringing us on your channel.
Oh, well, thank you for coming. And I'm sure everybody's just fascinated. I know they were fascinated with Gail. I'm really glad to have a practicing shaman on my show, even though shaman, you know what that meant. That meant he knows. That's what that was. Shaman, he, and man meant no. That's because when I was looking it up, I found that out. Now I have another piece of weird trivia that after today, I really am not going to be doing shows unless something really important comes up and I have to pop up about it. But because I'm going to be doing 5 classes a week for 3 weeks. So
right.
I'll be checking in somewhere in there, but I got to get my bandwidth a little more narrowed at this point. And thank you, Gail. And thank you, Mary. And if I ever get to South Carolina, I'll come look at your shop. Sounds interesting.
Okay.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks. All right. Bye-bye.
So at this point, I'd like you to talk a little bit